Even when you feel low, you can still go. Even when you feel slow, you can still go. Even when there's no hope, you can still go. I never answer to no, man, I still go. Go, 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 yo, go, go, go. Hustle hard, hustle every.
Hey guys, this is Just One Guy, and I'm back here with another update to Project Hermes. Now, I was playing a lot of Baldur's Gate lately, and I got a little bit inspired by the game. What I was working on was my class system in the game, which is the character class. And what I noticed was, in Baldur's Gate, characters can actually have multiple classes. And I'm just going to go into dev mode right here, so I can show you exactly what I was working on. Now, when I originally created this system, a character can only have one class, but in Baldur's Gate they can have multiple classes, and I thought I would like to emulate this system for Project Hermes, so I did. Now right here you can see this is all the classes in the game, so these are all the possible classes a character can have. Now over here is the actual class that the character has. Now right here you can see the character only has one class. But if I click this test class right here and hit save and then go to the class menu, you can see now he has two classes. Now the complicated thing about implementing this is I've designed it in the classes in such a way where even though all the classes have access to the same attributes, all the attributes for every class work differently. So right here we have strength as an example. In this class, I might be able to get 100 experience to strength and then level it up by 1 each time I level up. But in another class, I might want that to be 200 to strength so I can level it up twice every time I level up. And this is just so I can create different classes with different strengths. Now I had to make it so even though the attributes work differently, they both add up and both increase the character stats, and the stats are just the immutable functions of each character. So this is the direct move speed of the character, walk speed, and that's what the attributes are actually changing. But the important part is now each character can have multiple classes. Did I say that? Let me just go back and make sure that's working correctly. It is. I clicked on the wrong character. That's the player, and I made a mistake and clicked on the NPC over here. But another thing I was working on was each class now had each class and attribute now has an icon. So let me just go out of dev mode here, so I don't click on anything else by accident. Now if I go into the dev menu, I've changed it up a little bit and just added little icons to everything. So the reason I didn't do this before was if you ever tried to save any type of data to a hard drive using Unity or C# I guess, you can only save simple variables such as ints, floats, strings, and bools. It won't save anything more complicated like a transform or image. You can do it, but you have to start writing your own code and everything like that. But I just took a simpler approach and created an ID system. So now right here, I just have a list of icons in the game, and all of these pictures, all of these attributes and classes and stuff like that, they're just saved with ID, and whichever number this is on the list, it just finds it right here and then loads the icon up right there. And the cool thing about this is if I have an icon that's not on the list, it will add it to the list and then just save it that way. So I get to have my icons without having to write complicated code to save actual images. And of course right there where you see this no image, that just means I didn't set the ID for it, and so the ID is 0, so it has no image. And if I go to classes, you can see they now have images too. I didn't set any image for the class because I was just creating test classes. But right here you can see how the attributes are set up to work different for every class. Right here, he'll gain 100 points of experience and strength, and it'll increase it by 1 for each level. If I were to set that to 200, that's how much you would gain for that particular stat. So another cool thing is, whether I'm creating a class in the actual program, Project Hermes, or I'm creating it within Unity, I can now add images too. So if I go to create class right here, you can see it gives me my list of images that are right here. And if I click on one, it'll actually add it. Now I'm not going to create a new class right now, but right here, you can see what I was talking about, where I set up how much experience you'll gain for this attribute per level, which makes the class work differently. So the same thing works with attributes now. If I click on there, now I'm still trying to figure out how I'm going to display this this little image window here, because you can see it's a little big right here. This is my first time designing something like that, and even though I think I got the system kind of smoothly working, I want to design it a little bit better. So let's see, what else was I working? Oh, the dev camera. Now, one of the things I found was when I was working with an in-game camera, I was using that as my development camera too. And you can see that's not really ideal. And this is a situation right here where it's not ideal, because I got it set up in a third-person isometric way. So when I move the mouse, it'll actually turn the camera. And the problem with that is it made selecting things pretty hard. So I've just separated it out, and now I have a separate dev camera. So when I go into dev mode, it actually uses a whole different camera. And you can see now I have to click down to actually move the camera around. And that helps with selecting things a little bit better. And that's just a quality of life thing for me, which will make development much faster, because now I can just look over the world, and this camera isn't connected to the game camera. So even if I change the game camera and how that works, it doesn't change anything. Another thing I set up was I put this little image down here so I can know which type of input I'm using. And that kind of messed me up and took me a long time to figure out, because sometimes I would be trying to move my mouse when I had the controller plugged in. And I'll just show you right here. You can see when I plugged the controller into my computer, it actually changed to detect the controller and let me know that I'm using that controller. And the problem with this was I set the controls up to work differently. As you can see now, I can't move the camera at all. And this would cause issues. Let me just unplug that. Because I would be trying to figure out where I went wrong in programming. And if you ever programmed for a long period of time and you're sleepy, the last thing you want to do is encounter an unknown issue that you can't figure out. And it's just simply that I had the controller plugged in instead of the mouse and keyboard. So that helped a little bit with that. The last thing I was working on is I also created these little helpful windows. Since I decided to move most of my development away from my phone, because it was getting a little complicated to deal with the touch controls, and I decided to move it over to the PC, I created these little windows so I could create skills and attributes and classes outside of the game. Well, outside of the actual program and in the Unity game engine, just in case I want to get some work done here instead of doing it on my phone. So you can see right here I have my little test class, and now I can add images to the test class. And if I select a new type of image, say this right here, and call this other, and I save the class, it'll actually add that test image to the icon list. That way I don't have to worry about setting up the IDs and everything like that. So I can create a new attribute right here, or I can create a whole new class. Create class button right here. And you can see it's a nice little menu for creating everything. And the cool thing about this is it holds all the classes in the game right here. So I can just look up the class. So if I call this test, and I save this, now I have a new class called test class. And I can create as many classes as I want. And saved it to the list. And now we have 3 classes. And if I go over to the master class or attribute list, classes, you can see I have all the classes I created right here and all the data. Well, I didn't actually give them any data, so this has really sped up my development, and it's just creating these little tools to help me out. I wanted to get all the class stuff done and just make sure it's working so I can create a character with multiple classes, and I think I did pretty good. It inspired me to create these little windows, and overall I'm pretty happy with the work. And I decided to add the icons just because I was looking at it, and when I first created these windows, I did create them with the icon, but I couldn't figure out how to set up the icon. And when I tried to save the class and the attribute data, it wouldn't let me save it directly to the computer because you can't save sprites to a PC. Well, you can't directly save them to a PC. You have to actually turn them into ones and zeros and then save it that way, which is a whole complicated thing. And there's probably a third-party plugin where you could do that, but I just went with the simpler thing of saving the ID and then saving it that way. Anyway, that's what I've been up to, and what the changes I made to my program to make it a little bit better, and I'm going on my way. The next thing I'm going to work on is the tooltip system, which I've already pretty much got done, and then I'm going to go on to the inventory system. I created the inventory system before, but I've advanced the program so far that I can't remember how it really works anymore, and I deleted some of these the manager scripts for it. So if I go to the UI right now, I literally have no idea how the inventory menu actually works anymore. So that's going to be like a good week or two of work just figuring out how that works and getting it to work again. But when I get this done, I should mostly be done with the program, and then I'll be ready to start game development itself. I just got to add a couple more systems like the grid-based system and everything like that. But most of the heavy stuff is already done. Anyway, that's it for today. Thank you for watching. Interested in anything I'm doing, or you just want to follow the channel, please like and subscribe, and check out my socials in the description down below.